Hello, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk about how what we see in other people is usually just a snapshot of their life. It's not their whole life. Oh, sorry, before we got into it, I'm having massive anxiety attack because of my hyperpigmentation here that I usually have, and it hasn't gone away in over 3 years. So I'm trying to treat it with some kind of glycolic acid and just a pimple patch and see if it's gonna go away. So that's why it's there. You're probably gonna have that in other videos as well if you notice later. Anyway, so I feel like we don't really see other people as this like as human beings sometimes. I mean, like, unless there are people that are in our lives daily, and I think it stopped being like that after we finish school and we finish university, like the way we see people every day. Like, there is a part of us that thought that that would just keep continuing for the rest of our life, but for most of us that part usually stops after we finish university or kind of like institution, especially if we drop out of work, corporate work. And especially now with remote work having been the standard for a while, like before when I was still working in the office, like there was no such thing as remote work. Like we have to show up 5 days a week, which was relentless. um and I feel like comparing to retail work when we have to be on our feet all the time, it was a lot harder, I think, to some degree. Like, it's easier because you just have to stare at the computer, but it's also harder because you have to stare at the computer. Um, but like, even then, like, I feel like when we see people, we feel like we know them because we feel like we continually seeing them every day. But I feel like what we don't realize is that we only seeing a snapshot of their lives, and I think this is why people appreciate people who are like having been in their life for a long time. And even with spouses, I feel like we're only seeing part of them that we get to share in everyday lives. And I feel unless you work with them and live with them and deal with them every single day, almost 24/7, even then you don't really get to see their whole self, right? Because they either get to sleep or they might go out with the boys or with the girls, or they are hunkered down in their gaming room, or with the ladies, like they also probably hunkered down in the gaming room. You never know. And I feel like, that part of them is probably something that we don't know as well. We never really experience. So I think like we just seeing snapshots of people's like on the outside, especially I experienced this. Like, I think in psychology, this is what they say as like ego, it, and I forgot what the other one is, subconscious. It's like we only see like a very tiny tip of the iceberg, so to speak. And that's what we see. Like, that's what our impression of them, but that's not really who they are as a whole, right? And I feel like we judge people that way. And then I think we can, I think this is how I think the word or the phrase life is an illusion is accurate, is because everything that we see is not necessarily true. Like, even in this literal sense, like even dealing with people in everyday lives, like what they're trying to present to you is not necessarily who they are. And you don't even have to dig deeper to get to find out that that is the case. Sometimes you just have to ask a few questions and suddenly the whole facade kind of crumbles down and you get to see a very different side of them. And then they kind of like, oh, like realize that their mask has dropped, and then they're kind of trying to reestablish their image again, and you know that they have failed, and you kind of like see the horror that, oh my god, I've been seen, my real self have been seen, and then I suddenly don't want to be around you anymore, because who wants to be around people who basically have managed to crumble down your natural defenses or your natural facade to the world. Also, I'm still drinking tea. I know it doesn't look like tea, but it is tea. I like these shot glasses. They're so good. I know now why Chinese people really like having like this type of glass. This is not from Chinese class. I get this from Woolies, from tiramisu cake. Like I think I've said it many times, like one time before, not many times. You can get this from Woolies if you're in Australia. The tiramisu section, the cake section. I got this from IKEA for $9. I'm so happy that I got this for the $9 one. I didn't get the 1.5 liters for $10. My Asian brain was like, you need to get the 10 liter, the 1.5 liters because it's only $1 difference between this and that. This is only zero point 0.6 liters, which is like 600 milliliters. So this is around like the same bottle of Mount Franklin, like the regular size. So that's the same size or the liquid size. So yeah. Anyway, I'm happy with that purchase. So I feel like, and the point is, if you think about it, you have to remember that it's a snapshot. So you don't really get to see their full self. And suddenly, I think like a snapshot is like a slice of a person, right? And I feel like we built this person in our brain. The personality from the snapshots, and then we kind of like gather all these snapshots and then kind of determines what kind of person this person is, and then that's like our impression of them. That's their personality in our world. But they can be a very different person to other people. Like the snapshots for other people might be different. Like they might be a horrible mother or father, for example. So them in other people's, in their children's life, probably can be like a very bad person, but in your life they can be a very good person, and those two can be existing at the same time and be true at the same time. And I feel like that's just, I don't know, I just started to think about it and I feel like, oh, that's probably how the words "the world is an illusion" comes to mind in my head. It's because our world as we know it is definitely made up and we don't particularly have control over it to some degree. We see what we want to see or what we need to see, and then we kind of get on with our lives. And the person who we think are really bad might not be bad to other people, they might be an angel. So which one is true? They can be both true, but I feel like we are entering a world where this illusion is crumbling down and we don't get to see pieces of people anymore. I feel we are coming to an age or a time where we get to see people in all of its form, or like a whole motion picture, for example, like the whole movie is them, like the whole personality. And then I don't know, do we get to judge? I'm not sure. I feel like, are we allowed to judge, you know? Who are we to judge? I don't want to be judged. If I were to be judged, I would like to be judged kindly. So are we going to give that extension to other people as well? Anyway, it's just a discussion. It's nothing like I have conclusion of. Just want to explain that, I guess. It's just in my head. Also, I'm gonna record a few videos, so you're gonna be seeing this for a bit. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.